Nardwaur is one of the most lovable interviewers on the internet, but what you may not know is that people haven't always loved him. Over his decades of interviewing, a few of his interviewees have disrespected him, lied about him, broken his gifts, and even assaulted him. And with Nardwaur's hardcore fan base that often says they judge people based on how they treat Nardwaur, it usually doesn't end too well for the interviewees that treat him poorly. So today we're going to be looking into some of the worst interviews in Nardwaur history. Real quick, my name is Matt. I make weekly music related videos, so if you want to see more content like this, make sure to stick around. And also, of course, the interviews that I'm talking about aren't Nardwaur's fault. I don't know if he's ever done a bad interview in his life, but I'm going to be talking about the interviewees that make these so bad. You'll see what I mean, so let's continue. So Nardwaur began his career interviewing a lot of rock artists, and when he was newer to the interviewing scene, a lot of people didn't like him. They thought his enthusiastic voice and strange questions were annoying, and a perfect example of people not responding well to Nardwaur was Blur. Blur is a rock band from London that was fairly popular in the 90s and early 2000s. They made that song that goes, woohoo! I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. So Nardwaur locked in an interview with them in 2003, and they weren't too kind to him.
Would it be okay to stand over there? Come on. How? Stand there and ask your question. Okay. It's gonna be fine. Okay, I'll just. Okay. We're all gonna be fine. Okay. Come on, bro. Don't worry about it, mate. Okay. Okay.
The whole interview, they were very rude. They were taking his stuff, pushing him around, giving him a hard time with his questions, and a bunch of stuff like that.
You happy? No, I'm not.
You don't look happy.
I am not. I want my hat back, please. Okay. Where did you guys go to school?
I went to
He's still trying to do the interview. I would have.
But where did you go to school, Alex?
I went to Bournemouth School.
Hey, Dave. I'm wearing a t-shirt. Oh, wait a second, Dave. Dave, I'm wearing a t-shirt right now. I'm wearing a t-shirt right now. And some people are saying I'm wearing a Blur or Shite shirt. But am I wearing a Blur or Shite shirt, Dave, of Blur? Dave, do you think I am wearing a Blur or Shite shirt? But he didn't go to school there, and maybe that's why he's acting in that way. Do you think that's why he's acting in that way there, Alex?
I think he just doesn't like you very much.
The guy in the glasses who is being the most provocative is the drummer Dave Roundtree. The other guys in the interview weren't too bad, but Dave was just taking things too far, and eventually he just left the interview. This, of course,
you
upset
can't do
a
my
ton
boy
of
Nardy
viewers,
like
got
that,
the band a ton of hate, especially Dave in particular. And while most people agree that Blur was in the wrong, I actually found a counter argument from some Blur fans. They pointed out that Nardwaur had interviewed Blur back in '96 and asked some pretty rude questions. The Blur fans were suggesting that because Nardwaur was asking such personal questions, this is why they lashed out on him in this interview. And while that does definitely seem like a strange question to ask, apparently in 1994 Damon had done an interview about all of his sexual experiences and clearly didn't mind answering these questions, so that's probably why Nardwaur felt comfortable asking that. And even Dave himself agrees that his behavior in that interview was wrong. Dave was running for political office in London in 2011 and then apologized to Nardwaur. He said on his blog, "This is definitely one of the things I'm ashamed of. There's no excuse for my bullying, and the reason I did it is perhaps nearly as sordid. As I've written in the past, I became addicted to cocaine during the 90s. Now I have no idea if it has this effect on anyone else, but for me, the day after a cocaine binge, I'd sometimes fly into a murderous rage and take it out on whoever happened to be around it. In this case, it happened to be the journalist. To be clear, Nardwaur didn't do anything to provoke me. I sent an apology to him the next day, but I didn't hear anything back from him, so I assume he didn't accept it. These days, I keep a clip of the interview on my phone. I don't drink, smoke, or take drugs, and if from time to time I wonder if I'm doing the right thing, treading this path, I play it, and I have the answer." Nardwaur responded to his apology on Twitter saying, "Thanks to Dave of Blur for this apology about the interview. I do appreciate it." And while Dave from Blur and Nardwaur were able to patch it up, I'm not sure if that'll ever happen with Nardwaur and Sonic Youth. Sonic Youth is another rock band that made music from the 80s to the late 2000s, and Nardwaur interviewed them back in 1991. And this interview, very similarly to the Blur one, consisted of the band members not taking Nardwaur seriously, being rude to him, and harassing him.
Prison, hey, be careful. That is on Hey, pal, that's on the Estrus Crust Club from Bellingham, Washington. Dave Kreider, Estrus Records, Prison Shake from Cleveland. Hey, you cannot do. They are helping you with that record. We're not finished here. We're damn well finished. Don't take the card. Don't take the card. No, you can't take the card. Take the card.
Come on, bro. It's not funny, bro.
You can't.
Of course, this wasn't great, but by this point, it wasn't too bad. Until, of course, Sonic Youth decided to take it too far. Undoubtedly, the worst part of the interview was when Nardwaur brought them a record as a gift. Apparently, this was a collector's record, and it was broken by Thurston Moore and Lee Ronaldo, who were goofing around messing with it.
Hey, just a minute, pal. Just a minute. No, not in that bag. No, not in that bag. Look, I have something to show you. I have something to show you. No, I want to
That nigga was young.
I want to show him. I want to show you. No. Oh my God! You fucking piece of shit! You broke it! I was a present for you! Oh my God, what did you break? That was a present! Now I have to give it to you! Just a minute here. Hey, come on. We want to finish the story. Hello, hey, you. Let me finish the story. You were.
What did you break? The mic is crazy.
You were in Seattle, Washington.
This is like 30-some years ago. They said 1981.
You were in Seattle, Washington, weren't you, Mr. Sonic Youth? Hey, Mr. Sonic Youth, come on, take a piece of... Oh! No! Completely shattered! No, hey, come on! Oh! Hey, come on! Hey, you can't run away. Okay, well, we still can finish. I can't believe this! I can't believe...
Many people think that Nardwaur was breaking character and were shocked to hear him yelling swears at Sonic Youth. Clearly, fans were very upset about this incident, and a lot of people even said they aren't going to listen to Sonic Youth anymore because of how they treated Nardwaur.
Much later, bro. Like, dang, bro. Hey, niggas love Nardwaur for real. And rightfully so.
To this day, people are still upset about this interview. Interestingly enough, Nardwaur actually ended up interviewing Sonic Youth again in 2002 and decided to ask what happened in the last interview. Lee Ronaldo wasn't there, and Thurston Moore, one of the guys who was there and partook in breaking the record alongside Lee, kind of tried to make it sound like he wasn't the one doing it and blamed it all on Lee, but he definitely played a part.
Thurston Moore of Sonic Youth, what the hell happened the first time I talked to you in 1991? What the hell happened there?
You mean we've met before?
Yes, we have, and I have documented proof of that. Did you break this record right here?
First of all, let's get this straight. I am the one member of Sonic Youth out of the 4 members at the time who recognized not only the genius of Nardwaur, but the genius of this particular record. And
the young men.
I believe that I showed complete respect for this, but then there was another member of the band.
Lee!
Yeah. Mr. Lee Ronaldo.
And he was the guy that molested me, wasn't he?
Whoa.
I brought this record as a gift for you, by a young man,
that's crazy.
and you broke it.
Don't say you. Because what you're sort of saying is...
You ganged up with him.
No.
All right.
All I did was I circle danced around you while you were being viciously stomped.
2 years ago, people were still hating on Sonic Youth, like I mentioned earlier, so Thurston made a post about it on his Instagram. He said, I noticed a lot of hate bot action in my inboxes these last few years, using the first Sonic Youth Nardwaur interview as some kind of evil moment. As it is, it was all spontaneous fun and games when we did that interview. We have nothing but love for Nardwaur, and when we see each other, it's hugs and good times. But yeah, weird how there's this Sonic Youth versus Nardwaur thing, when in reality, it's Sonic Youth loves Nardwaur. Doot doola doot doo forever. A lot of fans weren't too happy about this response and didn't think that this was the case. And as far as I'm aware, Sonic Youth hasn't commented on the interview other than this Instagram post from Thurston. However, this moment has clearly left a stain on their legacy forever. Another group that started up some beef with Nardwaur because of their interview was Insane Clown Posse. Now, this instance wasn't an intense moment or anything during the interview. It was really what happened after the interview that caused problems. And I really want to talk about it in this video, so I'm going to do that because it's my video. If you don't know Insane Clown Posse, they are a duo from Detroit that makes rap music and are famous for their crazy fan base that goes by the Juggalos. Nardwaur interviewed them in 2016, and the interview was pretty normal.
Well, not anymore.
I'm your friend Rudy.
Yeah, back in the day, you got a lot of weird knowledge. You're throwing up some Tigers games, just throwing up stuff from like way back in 90, 89.
Thank you, Karen.
I agree, yes. My first girlfriend, Karen Chita. Shout out if you're checking it out, Karen.
The interview went well as far as the viewers could see, and Nardwaur did his usual psyching people out with his research. But after the interview, things went south. You see, Nardwaur has a lot of traditions that he does in each interview, like his iconic outro, he has plenty of catchphrases, and of course, he gives artists various gifts in every single interview. However, on a podcast with Steve-O, Violent J suggested that Nardwaur doesn't let artists keep the gifts he gives them.
I'm gonna tell you something. I don't want to say nothing bad about Nardwaur, but I gotta tell you something, man. this sucks too. He gives you all this bomb ass shit. Like he gives you all these rare.
Yeah, the Sir Mix-a-Lot albums and stuff that he's giving you.
You're like, whoa, where did you find this? You know, he gives you all that stuff. You're like, fuck yeah. You know, I remember he gave us a Smiley album, who's a local Detroit rapper we used to be fans of when we were kids. And he had some Smiley vinyl. We were like, oh my God. You know, he gave it to us. We were like, hell yeah. And then after the interview, he takes it back, man.
No.
We're like, no. What do you mean? He's like, yeah, I need that back. We're like, no. You know,
Did he take
I
back
guess
the
Does he really?
keychain
That's
that he
crazy.
gave you guys first off?
took everything back.
Now, to me in this interview, it didn't seem like Violent J was too upset about it, but it definitely bugged him. And very quickly, a bunch of publications picked up on it, suggesting Nardwaur doesn't let his interviewees keep their gifts. Nardwaur swiftly responded to this with his own video showing proof of him giving people gifts and explaining his process.
Every time I give a gift to somebody, I say it's a gift. Here's a gift. Now, when I show a record to somebody, I'm not giving them that record unless I say it's a gift. I'm showing them that record for them to point out the hysterical and historical importance. Why do I bring LPs at all to interviews? Why do I bring them at all? When I first started doing interviews, when I first started doing interviews at CITR Radio, which I still do interviews, we had the record library to do interviews in. And so I'd interview a band in a record library. And I would randomly grab a record out of the record library and show it to the band and ask them to comment on it. Obviously, I couldn't give the record to the person because it was CITR's copy. So when I did the interviews in person, at first, I would bring my own records and I would have them comment, but I would a lot of times have to get people records. I'd have to borrow stuff to get people to comment. Again, only getting people to comment. It wasn't actual gifts.
So Nardwaur was basically saying if he uses the word gift, it's a gift, and if he doesn't, it's not. Nardwaur then went on to show a few gifts that he gave to Insane Clown Posse.
And Shaggy and Violent J, I have a gift for you.
A gift?
Right off the bat, welcome to Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And to welcome you to Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, we have a vintage Posse on Broadway.
Oh, nice. No shit, no shit, no shit, no shit.
He then went on to demonstrate what wasn't a gift.
I'm showing ICP, Violent J, the Smiley LP. I never say it's a gift. I just want them to comment on it and tell people how important this record is.
Further, she's the first female rapper that put it down in Detroit. You know what I'm saying?
It's not
made
that
noise
bad.
and
It
all
was
that.
just
I think
like,
she's a
I feel like
radio
this is just a
DJ now.
misunderstanding.
So the difference is pretty obvious. He never said gift, but ICP must have assumed it was a gift and were upset afterwards when he took it back. Nardwaur also showed a bunch of mean comments that people left because of this, so clearly it was bugging him. He even went on to demonstrate how he gave gifts to people in remote interviews, which if you couldn't guess, he just shipped them.
I have a gift for you right here. An original Blazers record from 76, 77 that I will mail to you. That I will actually mail to you. This is a gift for you, Damien.
And I appreciate that.
So, will I actually mail it? Yes, look, right there. I mailed 2 boxes to Damian Lillard because I said I would mail it.
And Nardwaur also showed a picture of a gift he gave to the singer Phineas, and Phineas using the guitar strap on a separate occasion. Right afterwards, everyone sided with Nardwaur because Nardwaur came with the receipts. And in an interview about this, Nardwaur even said, some other ICP fans sent me a link of Shaggy on a podcast a couple weeks ago, emptying his bag. And one of the things in there was the Sir Mix-a-Lot keychain that I had given to them years ago. This is especially funny because if you remember the Violent J interview from earlier where he made this whole big deal about it, the guy literally asked, did you keep the keychain? And he said, no, nothing. After this whole incident, Nardwaur had tweeted out his video to which ICP responded,
He definitely
saying,
was in the
just
wrong,
a little
though.
misunderstanding, much clown love. So yeah, this was definitely a strange thing to accuse Nardwaur of, and clearly Nard was a little upset about it because he responded with a 40-minute video, but I guess it all worked out in the end. Another interview with a crazy moment was Kid Cudi's, and honestly it seemed more intense for Cudi than it did for Nard. Kid Cudi is an artist best known for his song Day and Night, as well as his work with Kanye West. And with a discography as big as his, you know him and Nardwaur had to link up for the interview back in 2009. The interview seemed to be going fairly well for the first few moments, until Cudi said that he had to leave. Cudi decided to stay a few minutes for some more questions, and then just abruptly left.
Even the Cleveland, what do you remember about old school Cleveland stuff? Do you remember any of the old school Cleveland stuff?
Right out. Sorry, fam.
Oh, okay, can I, well, no, Kid Cudi, doot-doo-loot-doo, can I at least say goodbye? Doot-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
Can you say bye-bye?
Come on, man. Chill out, man.
Please. Like, do I?
As you can imagine, with Nardwaur's cult-like fan base, a lot of people were very upset with Cuddy for just leaving our boy Nard without a do. A lot of fans assumed that Kid Cudi was just trying to act Hollywood or just being a douchebag to Nard. For example, one person said, "You can judge almost any artist based on how they react to a Nardwaur interview. Kid Cudi, for instance, is a big fucking douche." However, a few people offered some insight after the incident. One fan said he was deep in his coke habit at that time and definitely did not seem like in the mood for that kind of interview. Would love to see his take now. Another said that his grandpa had recently passed away, and I'm not sure whether or not Nardwaur knew that, but he did mention Cudi's grandpa in the interview. So most people kind of assumed that Kid Cudi was just having like some sort of anxiety attack or something, which you can't really blame on Cudi. Regardless, this moment upset a lot of fans, and without context, it seems to have changed some people's opinions on Kid Cudi. I think if more people knew the context that fans provided, they wouldn't be so harsh on him for this interview, so hopefully this helps. And while this interview wasn't really Kid Cudi's fault, this next interview was literally destroyed by the interviewees. I think this one takes the cake for worst Nardwaur interview of all time. One, because like I said, it was destroyed, and two, because Nardwaur said it was his worst interview of all time. So let's dive into it. Sebastian Bach is a singer from the rock band Skid Row, not to be confused with Johann Sebastian Bach. He also is an actor and has been in shows like Trailer Park Boys and Gilmore Girls. Nardwaur interviewed Bach and the rest of Skid Row back in 1994, and the interview went so bad that
them rock niggas used to really, it was their game. It's a rap. That's crazy, bro. It was none but rock. And then rap came along.
There's no audio or video of it. All there is just a written interview of Nardwaur's experience. It all started with Bach asking Nardwaur if he wanted to toke, to which Nardwaur says, "No thanks," I said quietly. Pretty quickly, Nardwaur upset the band somehow by asking about one of their producers, to which one of the band members says, "Listen, why don't you ask me some questions about my band? You're pissing me off." Then one of the guys took Nardwaur's hat off and Sebastian threw it across the room. Nardwaur said, "Realizing the interview is over, even though it has barely lasted 6 minutes, I go searching for my toque," which was his hat. "The toque I've had for 26 years. The toque my godmother gave me. The toque Sebastian has displaced." Then Sebastian told Nardwaur's cameraman Mark to give him the camera. Then Mark gave him the camera because he was a scared little weenie, and Sebastian was looking for the tape's eject button, but he couldn't find it because according to Nardwaur, he was too high. Then Nardwaur says he ultimately pries the tape out of the camcorder and whips it against the studio wall, nicely erasing any record of our encounter, plus at the time destroying other stuff on the tape, like interviews with Pierre Trudeau, George Clinton, and Sandra Bernhard. Then Sebastian apparently grabbed Nardwaur's face and said he was going to beat him up, so Nardwaur had to dip. Following this interview, Nardwaur and his group picketed outside of a Skid Row show saying, "Take back the tote." But in the end, Nardwaur never got it back. This was by far one of Nardwaur's craziest experiences, and unfortunately, it was destroyed, so we'll never get to see it. And at the end of the blog post, it says, "As much as Nardwaur wants to forget it, this encounter happened sometime in 1994. Nardwaur even spoke about this in an interview with Vulture, saying, "I've accepted that anything may happen during an interview, as long as it's on tape. That's most important." But Sebastian didn't like the way the interview was going, so he ejected the tape and threw it against the wall. He said that this was his most uncomfortable interview, and clearly it still haunts him to this day. These aren't the only bad interviews that Nardwaur's had, so if you're interested in a part 2, let me know in the comments below, and let me know what you guys think is the worst interviewee to show up on his platform. If you like this video, I have a very similar one where I'm talking about the upcoming of Nardwaur and how the rock industry was much harsher to him than the rap industry and all these things.
Yeah, that's why I see it was mainly rock niggas.
That's on screen right now. Other than that, this has been your boy Matty Ball.
That's why they fell off.
Enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like and even consider subscribing down below. Other than that, I'll see you guys next time.